Hey BookTube, this is the 2016 end of year bookish survey. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and this is part 2 of my end of year 2016 bookish survey. Look below in the box for links to the original one, and I'll just get right into part 2. My favorite new author in 2016 was Mariana Zapata. She writes adult romance and maybe new adult. I think it's really more adult than new adult. And several of her books are sports romances. And one is about a motorcycle club. There's one I haven't read that's about a porn star. I don't know. I'm just not feeling good about that one. But the others I've just thoroughly enjoyed. And Callie Dalton is the narrator that has done the ones I've really loved. My favorite has been The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. And that's about a football player and his personal assistant. And it is wonderful. But Callie Dalton is an amazing narrator, and I had never heard of her. So, you know, what a pleasure to get to not just find a new author, but find a new narrator too that I really liked. I don't typically read graphic novels. I have read them in the past, but this past year I wanted to read all of the books for the BookTube SFF Awards. And so I picked up some graphic novels, and one of my favorites was Descender by Jeff Lemire. I loved the story. I loved the artwork. I didn't continue with it. I did just read the first volume, but I really liked it. And it was completely out of my comfort zone, but thoroughly enjoyable. Well, I read a lot of action-packed books, but I'm going to have to default to Jemison by J. Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. This book was so good. It threw in a twist that I didn't expect. It's set on a space station, and of course, this is the second book in the Illuminae series, and these books are all told in a format that is very, very graphic, not just text, but very graphic. And on audio, they have their own flavor that's completely different than the book, so totally different experience. But you can't put either one of them down. It is action-packed, great characters, lots of cool stuff going on, and I absolutely loved it. I had to really think about this one too, but I am pretty well settled on The Queen of All That Dies by Thalassa. I read this whole trilogy. It's the Queen of All That Dies trilogy. It's not available on audio, but I read it for the Book Buddy-a-thon with my good, sweet friend, Michaela Eve at Love Michaela Eve. And the trilogy is The Queen of All That Dies, The Queen of All Traitors, and The Queen of All That Lives. It is new adult dystopian, and it is fantastic. And I was ready to reread it as soon as I finished it. So I am definitely going to reread that one this year. You know, I keep saying this, it was really hard to decide. Let's just assume that all of these were hard to narrow down to just one. But I settled on The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemison. This is book 2 in the Broken Earth series, and it is narrated on audio by Robin Miles. And this series just has the most stunning covers. It's adult sci-fi or fantasy-ish. It's probably a blend of the two, and they are just stunning. Truly stunning covers. My most memorable character, when I really think about it, is Montez from The Queen of All That Dies. This guy is an anti-hero, and you can never really nail down whether he's good, he's bad, he's a bad guy doing good things, a good guy doing bad things. It's completely a mystery. He's always changing. He's totally fascinating to read about and to get to know as a character, and I just loved him. He's one of the reasons that I want to go back and reread that series again this year. The most beautiful book I read was a short story by Carrie Vaughn called That Game We Played During the War. I heard about this through Jane at Yes Miss Jane, who is the sci-fi person that she's my go-to sci-fi person, and my friend anyway, that I just have such a connection with her. But she recommended this, and it is beautiful. It's a beautiful story about the end of a war and human nature. It's just so well done, and it's linked below. You can go read it online. Well, obviously, the most life-changing book I ever read in any year is my Bible. And so that kind of goes without saying. But I did read Brain on Fire by Susannah Cahalan, and that's narrated on audio by Heather Henderson. And what's notable to me about that is that I buddy read it with Sylvia at Wish Fulfillment, and we had a great discussion about mental health care in the U.S., healthcare in general in the U.S., mental health providers, and the importance of an advocate in getting to a diagnosis, a correct diagnosis, and kind of the plight of people and what doctors have to put up with and what patients have to fight against, and just the whole complex maze of healthcare, and especially mental health care in the U.S. It was a wonderful discussion, and I loved talking with her about it. I can't believe I waited till 2016 to read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stievfater. I read all 4 books. I only have the 4th one, which is The Raven King, but I had started them, tried them on audio. They're narrated by Will Patton, and I just couldn't get into them. And so I gave them another try. I really stuck with it, and I'm so glad I did, because this is a really good series. It's really weird. She writes some weird, crazy stuff, but it was still really good. It's The Raven Boys, and then The Dream Thieves, and then Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and then The Raven King. And yeah, gotta recommend this series. It's really good. And it's kind of slow at first, but if you hang with it, it pays off. The book that shocked me the most this year was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is book 2 in the Six of Crows duology, and I really liked it. This is essentially a heist story. This one is, and this is more about a town, and it's kind of run by the mafia. It's that kind of thing, a corrupt government, and so it's about the characters. And this shocked me because of something that happened in the plot about probably 85–90% of the way through. It really disappointed me, and it completely ruined the book for me. Really ruined it. It's so well written. It's set in the universe where Leigh Bardugo has set her other trilogy, the Grisha trilogy. So same universe, the Grishaverse, but different characters and a completely different kind of story. But yeah, what a disappointment. These are beautiful books too. They're just gorgeous. So yeah, that was a shocker. I had 3 favorite couples, and those were Nina and Matthias from Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and Montez and Serenity from The Queen of All That Dies, which was an interesting relationship, very interesting. And then I have to always default to Mari and Elaine from the Pillars of Reality series by Jack Campbell. I loved the relationship between Nick and Ella, who are cousins in this book. And I actually was reading Jemina when I was on vacation this past summer. And so I was on a plane, and I actually took a screenshot of one of the things in this book. It's a text conversation between these 2 characters. And I sent it to one of my daughters because she's always telling me, "Mom, stop shouting at me. You're talking in all caps. You stopped shouting at me." And so I screenshotted this, and I texted it to her, and had a really good laugh. I love that relationship between these 2 characters. They're so funny. They were completely the comic relief of the entire book, and just so much fun. Thoroughly enjoyed them. I picked up Replica by Lauren Oliver, and on audio this is narrated by Sarah Drew and Aaron Spencer. This is an interesting book, and it's formatted really kind of uniquely in that it's one girl's story if you read it one way, and then you flip it over and it's another girl's story, and they kind of meet in the middle. And you can read it alternate chapters if you like. On audio it's read from just one girl's perspective and then the other girl's perspective, and then the book kind of concludes with one of the girl's perspectives. It kind of brings it all together, and I was iffy on it because I didn't know if I trust Lauren Oliver. I really loved Delirium, a series that she did, but I I liked the first book. I put up with the second. I hated the third. And I've just not been convinced that I can trust her as an author. But I really liked this. I'm surprised. So the sequel comes out this year, and I'm looking forward to that. My best book friend, Michaela, insisted that I read the Air Awakens series by Elise Kova. This is YA fantasy, and it is fantastic. It's only out as ebooks or paperback. It's not on audio. It is so good. It's diverse, and it has a main character that just morphs one book to the next, from this meek little librarian to this kick-ass girl that is a force to be reckoned with. Just the transformation of the character, the way it goes along, is so good. Slow burn romance, fantasy kingdom with a lot of bad guys and a lot of just great stuff going on. So yeah, fantastic series. I'm really glad she pushed me to read it. I have a crush, I have a total crush on Keen Winters from The Trouble with Mistletoe by Jill Shalvis. This is part of her Heartbreaker Bay series, and it's narrated by Karen White. And the reason I have such a crush on this guy is that he flips houses. I love that. He's a construction worker. Like he manages projects, and he flips houses. He buys houses, fixes them up, and then sells them for a profit. And that's what I do too. And so I love that about him. So he is my fictional crush of the year. So that's the end of part 2 of my end of year bookish survey for 2016. If you have any thoughts on any of these books at all, then please let me know, and let's talk about that in the comments below. And part 3 is coming up, so I will see you then. Thanks for watching.